Okay, so I gotta start this video off by saying the same thing that we talk about every single time we bring up one of Myers or OEL. These guys are good. Like, I'm gonna be serious when I say that their impacts on the ice are honestly pretty alright, and they add dynamics to the blue line that are unfulfilled by other players on the roster. Sorry, Luke Schenn, you're just not as consistent as you could be. Sorry, Burrows, Hunt, you're just not at that caliber of awareness to be able to execute plays defensively that a Myers or an OEL can. Sorry, Hughes, you're very good offensively, a lot better than these two guys are, but these guys are a lot more suited for that shutdown game, and besides, we don't want Quinn Hughes to play the shutdown game, we want him to be the offensive dynamo that he is. So at the end of the day, Myers, OEL, these guys are good, but just because they are good and just because they are positive impacts on this blue line does not mean they're worth the money. They are still extremely overpaid, and Jim Benning, with his absolute desire to go out there and make the playoffs, not even contend, not even be a consistent contender, but to just make the playoffs one more time. He went out there, solidified this roster. Myers is making a whole bunch of money. OEL is making a whole bunch of money. Myers, if we go over his entire profile here, 32 years old, 6'8", 229 is the pound rate here. I didn't realize he was that heavy. I mean, it kind of makes sense, of course, he's 6'8". But right-handed shot, signed till the end of the 2024 season at $6 million a year with a modified no trade. Now, $6 million has kind of become the meme because, oh, Louis Eriksson, oh, Tyler Myers, oh, all these guys making $6 million. All the meme guys make $6 million. And Tyler Myers is kind of in that state, unfortunately speaking. Now, I did say at the beginning of the video, Tyler Myers is not bad. Like, he certainly is not as bad as he was when he started suiting up for the Vancouver Canucks when he signed that contract back in... when the heck was that, 2019? My goodness, he's been on the payroll for 3 years now? Can you believe that, eh? And it's not even about the points with Tyler Myers either. You might go over the point production and say, oh, he got 21 points in 68 games, he got 21 points in 55 games, he's got 11 points in 46 games now. What happened? This guy's falling off. Honestly, this guy's playing a lot better in his own end, and sure, he's not really producing out too much in the offensive zone, but then again, the Vancouver Canucks aren't really getting too much offense from any of their defenders these days. It's kind of a problem. But either way, Tyler Myers is in that state where a lot of people would go out there and say, yeah, he's okay, he's overpaid, it's going to be very difficult if you want to go out there and try to free up that money, because Tyler Myers realistically plays like, let's say, a $2-3 million guy. Like, you could probably find defensive options who can do the same defensive shutdown things that Tyler Myers does for much cheaper than $6 million. It's just, he's big, he has a reputation of being able to hit people, and he is a Calder winner. Like, this guy has a Calder trophy to his name when he had his best offensive season back when he debuted 10 years ago. So there is a reputation that Tyler Myers has that is sort of different around the NHL than it is here in Vancouver. And that's kind of what Satiar Shah was talking about when he made an appearance on 650. What the heck am I saying? When he made an appearance on 650. He's a host on 650. He does the show every day, and he had himself a little quote that was posted on Twitter that I wanted to go out there and talk about here. What he discusses is the idea of a Tyler Myers trade, and whether or not Myers' trade value outside Vancouver is kind of akin to what Canucks fans believe it is. Now, a lot of people here in Vancouver would say that Tyler Myers is worth nothing because he's a guy that's so expensive and he doesn't produce points and he doesn't hit as much as you think he should. Sure, there is a certain level of value that this guy could provide, but is that noteworthy enough to deter you from the contract? No. That's what a lot of Canucks fans would like to go out there and think, but Sat Shah on the program goes out there and he says something a little bit on the contrary, and he says that because Meyer has been so good this year, the reputation is in a position where you could go out there and say maybe some other teams view him a lot more than they initially did. And the question comes up in Sat's monologue as to whether or not the right time to trade Tyler Myers would be before the trade deadline, or sometime in the offseason, or wait until Tyler Myers' contract is near its expiration date and then trade him as a prime time rental option for any other team that needs some size and needs some defensive efficiency. The problem with the last one, though, is that timeline is in 2 years. Myers' contract expires in the 2024 season. So if you want to go out there and wait until this guy is expiring right then, and you trade him away as a rental so that any team that gets him can get full value out of what Myers brings while also not holding on to that contract, you have to wait 2 years. But Shah is going out there and arguing that if that reputation is really starting to fix itself up now, if you want to go out there and say, okay, let's trade Myers for bare minimum, trade Myers for anything that is of negative value in this respect. Maybe not so much a player coming back with a whole bunch of money, but let's say a mid to late round pick. Let's say a 6th, 7th, 5th round pick for Tyler Myers. You're not getting anything for this guy in return, but there's a price to pay because a team is going to be taking on that contract, which is not a good contract. Again, he's a good player. Contract's not good. And so, when I start to think about the ideas as to what Rutherford could go out... Rutherford. I keep on saying Rutherford, dude. It's not Rutherford, it's Alvin. He's the GM. Rutherford is just pretty much the mentor to the GM, but you kind of get what I mean, right? When you say that Rutherford is going out there trying to get prospects, trying to get picks, trying to alleviate the cap flexibility on this team, think of the cap space like your blood pressure. Sometimes the blood pressure is a little bit too high, and there's a reason for that. It means there's too much blood flowing, and the pressure of the blood cells pushing up against your veins is a little bit dangerous. That's kind of like the dollars within the Vancouver Canucks organization, and the veins that coagulate to make this team the way it is. And there's just way too much money rubbing up against the arteries right here, in a way that doesn't really serve the team well. Like, okay, if the team is playing like Tampa Bay, it's fine to be a cap team. But this team's not playing like Tampa Bay. This team can barely hold a candle to the top contending teams in the NHL. Sure, they can get shots, but they don't convert. Like, they're second last in the Pacific now with the loss to Nashville. What else do you want now? So, this team, being in the way it is, where it's not really a contender, yet it is still strapped up to the cap. Rutherford, Castonguay, Alvin, they're going to go out there and they're going to make decisions. They're going to have to do this. And when it comes to trading away guys that are a lot more expensive than you would probably be able to afford should this team actually reach contender status, who knows if Myers is going to be the first one to go, and who knows if he even gets a player or a pick in return that is worth a whole bunch. Satiar Shah goes out there and he labels maybe the idea of another player coming back that isn't too expensive could be something that you could think about, like a player that has 1 or 2 years left on a contract that is pretty beefy, so that the Vancouver Canucks can get rid of the Tyler Myers money sooner rather than later, because, they have to wait a few years to do that. So, there are some options here, and I honestly am kind of surprised to even hear this being spoken about on the radio, because in my mind, I always kind of felt like Tyler Myers was sort of untradeable. Like, OEL is untradeable, pretty much because of the contract and because of the circumstances of that contract. It's so long, he's so old, and we all kind of knew that he only really wanted to go to 2 teams in the first place. Like, that modified no-trade clause and all that, that's not new. Like, he had that in Arizona. He just wanted to come to either Vancouver or Boston, which is why we're pretty much going to be stuck with that until somebody decides to buy it out or the timeline just expires. But for Myers, there was always more of an idea that he had some form of that unmovable nature to his game as well. It's just now, hearing Satiar Shah on the radio, I like what he's saying. I really like the idea of Tyler Myers getting traded away for something that could not actually impact the Canucks monetarily wise long term, whether that's a 4th or a 5th or a 6th or anything. Like, I don't care. Just get this guy off the roster if you have the opportunity. Why? Because the Canucks didn't really use all too much to acquire him anyway. He was a free agent pickup. He costs a whole bunch of money. He's not worth the money. Sure, he's a good defenseman, but you could get other defensemen at cheaper dollar amounts. You tried to get Travis Hamonic to do the same thing, and look at this guy. He's not even on the team. He's seemingly everywhere all the time, except for Rogers Arena and wherever the Vancouver Canucks are playing. It's kind of weird. So, talk to me in the comments, what do you think about Tyler Myers and the idea of trading this guy away? Do you think it's even remotely possible? Satiar Shah is arguing that it could be, but of course we don't really know. So let me know in the comments your thoughts. I'll leave a link in the description to the video. I'm not too sure if I'll leave a Reddit video link because it is on Reddit, and based off the format of the video, it looks like it is a video from Twitter, so I'll see if I can find that as well. But talk to me in the comments either way. What are your thoughts about Tyler Myers and a trade? I hope you enjoyed this video. Rosén 99, and bye.